live. I'm actually in New York City, so I'm in my hotel room. But I wanted to make sure that we really got this subject and keep the momentum going with our sessions. So tonight, who I want to introduce is someone I consider to be a friend, a sister. What I love about Jaron, if you don't know her, I think one or two people on here may know her, but if you don't know her, she is a no nonsense woman. I love this about it. I love her spirit. She loves God. She's passionate. I don't know about you all, but I don't want nobody around me if they're not passionate. If whatever you do, I want you to bring passion, bring the heat. Either be hot or be cold. At least I know where to do. I know where to put you. You know what I mean? But that
Mhm.
I don't like nothing mediocre. Jaron is passionate, and I want to say this. About 4 years ago, I decided that it was time for me to exit my relationship. It was long standing. I'm talking 28 years, 30 years together, married 28 years. So this was not an easy decision, but it was necessary. And I just so it's so crazy. There was someone that I had reached out to, an attorney, a divorce attorney at the time. And I remember they were offering free consultations at the time. Like, so your first consultation was free. And when I got there, had no idea Jaron worked there. Now, me and Jaron, we've known each other for years. So Jaron saw me, and right away, because of course, when you're dealing with divorce, that's something it's private. You keep it confidential. It's not something you're out there making an announcement. So when I saw Jaron, I just knew that it was a divine connection. Like, even the timing that I just happened to go to this specific attorney for a free consultation, and Jaron was there, and right away Jaron embraced me. She's like, you know what, Cherise, is there anything that I can help you with? I remember, as a matter of fact, she asked me after I told her that, hey, I was going to be filing for a divorce. Jaron said, you know what, if you don't mind, can I sit in the consultation? And from that point on, Jaron she took me under her wings, and she was there through the process, and supported me. And I'm going to do a testimonial for her where I can really think out everything that I want to say. But she was a godsend. She was a godsend in my life. And here she was, how do I say it? Like a conduit, because there you have the attorney, and she was working for the attorney. And at that time, you guys, I couldn't afford no high powered attorney at that time. But here she was, she coached me through the process. And then if there was anything that was questionable, she was able to go to the attorney that I would have had to, pay. And, I would have had to pay for her services. She buttered that, and she would ask questions to the attorney on my behalf. So a friend, a coach, a true sister. She is my vanilla sister. If you don't know, if y'all, if you ain't noticed, y'all, I mean, this girl, she about as country, and I don't know. I feel like she got some kind of black in her bloodline. I'm just gonna be honest. I'm sorry, Jaron. I had to go there for those of you that know her. But she is a sister indeed. And I just want you all to just give her a warm welcome. She's going to share some tips with us. And
Hey, beautiful.
she's people, y'all. She's like a sister. She is people. That's all I can say. So Jaron, again, thank you so much for being here. Y'all just kind of get her.
You're welcome.
Yes, thank you for joining us. And I'm going to put you on as the main speaker. So I'm going to unpin myself. And
Okay.
if what I will say, if you can just take a few minutes to before you go into any tips that you want to talk about, if you could just take a few minutes to just tell us what made you do this, what made you, because honestly, I haven't heard of a divorce coach prior to this, but what is it that made you decide to go into this specific field? And yeah, just if you don't mind just sharing some of that with us. Okay.
Sure, sure. I really actually do feel like that's part of my job, is to help educate people. Because until I worked for Gwen, which is the attorney that you were just talking about, I hadn't heard of a divorce coach either. And so my journey started personally. And I went through a divorce with a high conflict person. And I did have an attorney, but I found myself turning towards the attorney for like emotional support and moral support and kind of almost like a friend. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just it's $300 an hour to do that. And so really what the attorney's job and role is to focus on getting you the best legal outcome possible with the facts of your particular case. That's their job. I would also say attorneys are not necessarily great at doing that. What makes them a really good litigation attorney means sometimes they're not that sensitive to your emotions and they are not necessarily able to provide that support. So that's one. I wish that I would have had someone to come alongside me during that process and coach me and prepare me for court and everything like that. And so what I found is for some reason, the high conflict clients, they are attracted to me and I am attracted to them because I've been through it. I have a heart for that. I know what it's like. It's frustrating when the other person is bound and determined. They're not settling. I had someone, this particular client I'm going to talk about, blew through almost $300,000 because he was bound and determined she wasn't getting a penny of it. And it all went to attorneys. And that's what I'm talking about. They will literally bankrupt themselves and you to win at all costs. And so what I found in my role as paralegal, I could help them legally, yes, but I found myself coaching. Like that's what I was actually doing. And I went to God and I said, I don't really want to pay $100,000, $200,000 to go get a law degree. So, okay, Lord, what is the best way that I can help these people and be operating in my gifting? And I went looking and I looked up divorce coaching, and there's a certified divorce coaching program out of Florida, which I just finished in December. But to be honest, I got the certification, thank you. But that's what I've been doing the whole time. I just didn't know that's what I was doing the whole time. Of course, I have to give my little disclaimer. I am not an attorney. Anything that I say should not be considered legal advice. So I just want you to know that this is information that is generally available. Of course, I have the information because I have experience with doing this, so I just want to say that. The best thing really, though, to protect your business is a prenuptial agreement. I know it's not sexy, it's not fun, but it really, really is the best thing that can protect you. You also can get a postnuptial agreement, and I don't know if a lot of people know about that, but after you're married and if things start to go south and maybe you don't want to get a legal separation or you don't want to get a divorce yet, but things are a little bit shaky, you actually can request a postnuptial agreement. Now, the likelihood of that person necessarily signing that with willingly, there's not as much of an incentive as a prenup. Whereas with prenup, it's like, sign this or I'm not going to marry you, right? But with the postnup, you're already married and you're asking them to sign it. And so I don't know how willing they would be, but it is an option. It is something that you can definitely do. I would say the best thing really is to structure the business properly. Please do not do sole proprietor. Please do not do partnership. Do not do anything where you could personally be held liable, because like you said, you're going to pay the consequences of the people closest around you, good or bad. That goes for business as well. So if you've got it in a trust or you've got it in a corporation or a limited liability company, that helps. First of all, it helps to limit your liability individually, but it also helps to limit exposure for that spouse. And that could also be in the prenuptial agreement that kind of states out the terms like, hey, I had this business before the marriage and this is my individual property type of thing. That's usually what the prenup is about, is if one or both parties have considerable assets or children from prior marriages, the whole point is to protect that and to make sure that it goes where you need that to go. The other thing is you may want to consider not necessarily having your spouse in the business directly. That is another thing. And I know you're in love and you work well together and you want to do business together, but the thing is that it can go south. And it's the same thing with family. If you're doing business with family, it's really no different than that. Your spouse is like your family. So that's just something to consider. Do I want to do business in this way that closely? The other thing is to pay yourself a competitive salary. And the reason for that is if you take a lower salary thinking that you're going to cash out on the business later, then now you have to buy off your spouse as part of the business. And then, so what would you do? Well, you'd have to have the business evaluated to determine the value of it. Then you would have to split it, and then you would now have to figure out how are you going to buy him out. Whereas if you don't really leave a lot of assets in the company and it's just you and you're paying yourself competitively, you kind of sort of save yourself from that part of it. So that's another thing to consider, is to just make sure that you're paying yourself market rate. Don't underpay yourself to conserve that cash. The other thing is you can buy out your spouse. That's another thing. And maintain good records. Okay. We all know when you're doing business with family, a lot of times you're not keeping records the same way that you would if it was not family. The other thing is keep the family's finances separate from the business. No pulling from the business to pay for family stuff. That's the purpose of paying yourself a salary. So keep that separate and don't commingle the funds. And first of all, it makes it easier for tax purposes and accounting, but also because it makes it easier to determine who is what when you have it. I highly recommend do not commingle the business funds with your personal funds. Yes, you can pay yourself, but pay yourself a salary and then take what you need from there. The other thing is, let's say if you're at the point where you are going through a divorce, let's say you retain 100% ownership of the company, but you give him, so basically it's a pot of money. All the assets are included. Rather than giving him a portion of the company to maintain control, give him all of your 401k or cars, collectibles, pull from other places so that you're not giving up control of the company. And that really is the better way to go. If you find yourself in the position where you are going through a divorce and you're having to buy them out, don't give them any part of or control or ownership of the company. Buy them out completely, but give them a different asset. So you don't have to pull. Yeah.
Can I also say, can I piggyback
Yep.
to that really quick?
Yes, please, please.
There was a few things you said. One, being in love. Okay. We talked about this a few weeks ago, keeping your emotions separate from your business.
Yes.
And I know that may be very challenging of a statement to tell somebody when you are googly eyes and in love, but again, no one plans for the changes. You never plan for that. And one of the things that I will say that, I learned the lesson, which is one of the things you kind of just sharing.
Yes.
I'm a fair person. So when someone says 50-50, I think that's fair. You get 50%, I get 50%. And I just would recommend, just off of what I have been through and also just what the recommendation Jaron just made, to keep the if you do have to go into percentages, you want to keep the greater percentage, especially if it is really your business, because the arm wrestling, when things go wrong, it's just not pretty. And I also say sometimes you will be so surprised, the very person that you've been in love with, that you've known all these years, that someone would expect to get more than what you would think that they deserve. Y'all can follow what I'm saying.
Especially when they're spiteful.
Yeah, I'm sorry, what did you say?
I said, especially when they're spiteful. When they get to the point that they've pushed you so far, they really want to keep control over you. So, that's a way that they do that too.
Yes.
So go ahead, Jaron. I just wanted to add that in there.
I'm sorry.
No, that's perfect. And that's, again, the reason for, if you have a business and you're getting married, prenup, because that is your premarital property. Keep it separate. Do not, by any means necessary, commingle those funds with anything, because you commingle with your personal and your personal are commingled with the spouse, and now it's a big mess. Keep it separate. That is my advice. Keep it separate. Get a fair evaluation of the company. Again, if you find yourself in this position where you are having to figure out what is the best thing for the division of that, make sure you hire a professional evaluator. And then to preserve cash flow, what you would want to do would be to arrange to make any payments over time. So don't offer to give a cash lump sum, if at all possible. Buy yourself time if you are having to kick out cash flow. make sure that it's overtime so that you're preserving, because you're going to need that capital to run the business. And so if you're having to pay this lump sum out, that's kind of taken away from your cash flow, which can affect the operation of the business. So that's a recommendation that you do get as much time. There's another item, it's called a buy-sell agreement. I don't know a ton about that, so I would recommend, if you're considering that, to definitely get with an attorney. I don't like to talk about, I just wanted to mention it, but I don't like to talk about, hold on one second. Oh, I don't know if you want to talk to me. Okay, sorry. Someone was trying to get my attention, and I'm focused on here. Okay, and then insurance. Make sure you have life insurance, because if something were to happen to you, and it's not just that you lose your life, but it could be that you're disabled and you're no longer able to run the company the way that you would want to do that. So I would highly recommend that you make sure that you have the proper insurance to protect yourself. And that's basically what I wanted to cover as far as like before, during. Cherise, if you have something specific maybe that you want me to talk about for after, I'd be happy to. I didn't have anything specific, but I'd be happy to chime in on anything that you were thinking of.
You know what? I think what I'll do is, because our time was a little limited today,
Yeah.
if you're open to it, maybe we can do a part 2 on post
Yes.
and you know what I mean? So I think
Yeah, because that was a lot just right there
that
by
was a lot,
itself.
yes.
Yeah.
And I just want to say this. I love what you brought up about the insurance part, because nobody talks about that. I've heard stories before about like people that were great pianists, but those were like superstars, where it was like, hey, get insurance for your fingers, get insurance for your fingers, so that God,
Exactly. That's your asset. Yes.
But you don't hear about that. Like when you're a business owner, your business that's your livelihood.
That is your asset. Yes.
So that's something to think about for everybody, to take that in consideration in your specific line of business, that that you do have some type of life insurance or some type of policy that protects you for any type of disabilities. So I want to open up the floor for any Q&As. So
Yes.
Anybody, if you can just, raise a hand, or if anybody has any questions for Jaron, this is definitely the time, or any feedback to anything that she has said. So
And it doesn't have to be about business specifically. It can just be about divorce coaching, anything that you can think of that you might want to know, even how to help a friend, whatever comes to mind.
Okay. Yeah, anybody have anything they want to ask, or any questions? I'm looking over in the chat. If you want to throw them in the chat, that's fine too, if you don't want to say it out loud. But yeah, I think that you made some extremely good points. I know personally, I'm gonna watch this multiple times. I'm definitely my own self gonna get the playback, because a lot of us that are on here, some of us have been divorced and would like to get remarried. And I just think that this is very important when you've invested this amount of time into your business, into your craft, into your branding. I think that is very important that we take these things in consideration for protection. And of course, we wish everybody the best in their relationship, but it is
absolutely.
What are the statistics currently when it comes to divorce? Do you know?
It's more than 50%. And the interesting thing is that it is the same or higher with believers. So just because you are a believer or Christian doesn't exempt you from possibly going through a divorce. And I know as a believer, some people say, well, why do you do the work that you do? Listen, I don't advocate divorce, but I'm going to leave you with this. It's what I tell everyone. God loves the people in that divorce more than the institution itself, okay? So yes, he hates divorce, but he hates abuse. He hates mistreatment. He hates all of that even more than he hates divorce. And sometimes we have to do the most compassionate thing. I mean, just think if that was your child. Would you want them to stay in that? No. Why would a good father, a compassionate, loving father ever want us to do that? So I just want to encourage, we're not advocating that here, but sometimes you find yourself in a situation where you have to have an exit strategy, and you really, really need to think about down the line and in the future as well.
So yeah.
And Shelly had a question. Her question was, should you accept capital for your business from your spouse? I would actually draw up a promissory note and make it be a loan.
Oh, wow. Wow, that's kind of deep.
I'm just saying, because now you're commingling funds.
And that person's gonna, if something goes wrong, and like you said, like Dewana,
I invested in that business. Part of it's mine. That's exactly what they're gonna say.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow, that's a good point. Thank you for sharing that. And
thank you, Shelly, for that question. That's a great question. Yeah, you're welcome.
Great question, Shelly. Thank you. Dewana, I think Dewana had her hand up too.
You know, I was just gonna say, my last divorce, when I was totally going through, almost going crazy, I had one of the pastors at my church tell me, "Oh, but you can't leave. You're a minister." She told me I could not leave that marriage because I was a minister.
Wow.
Like, you know what? I pray for the church, because I will say Cherise and I attended the same church, and our experience might be a little different than others, because I didn't have a negative experience and neither did she. They don't advocate staying when it's abusive like that. I want everyone on this call to come into agreement with me that the church gets educated on how, and I'm saying church generally, the people that are counseling and ministering, that they really, really get a biblical understanding and revelation on how to counsel properly in these situations when there's abuse.
Most definitely.
Amen.
Most definitely. Thank you. Thank you, Jaron. You know, sometimes it's not easy to have the hard conversations. It's not easy. And I just want to thank you so much, Jaron, for being so courageous to take on what you do. And especially when, you know, it's so easy to be critical. It's so easy to have an opinion on someone else. You know, it's just simple. If you don't have a burning desire to help people in this area, then so be it.
Don't do it.
You don't need to knock anything that anyone else is doing. Again, I speak for myself. You got those of you that are on here, if you are considering using Jaron's service, this woman was a godsend for me. She was a godsend. She was compassionate through the process. She took the time out to explain what needed to be explained. And I'll just say this again, the judge that worked with me, he basically, that was a huge compliment. He said, he said, you had a professional put up get your paperwork together, and it almost made it look like maybe I had a lot of money. Because he even made the comment, he said, this is expensive. This costs money to put this together. So I just want to publicly say that to you, Jaron, that I am forever grateful for what you did for me. And I'm saying this because, y'all, she does charge, but I want to say, I'm forever grateful because she sold that into my life. That was at a time where I couldn't afford her. I was in a situation where all my finances were totally intermingled with my ex. So I pretty much made the decision to start completely over from scratch. And God sent this woman in my life, and she walked me through the process. And like I said, I'm forever grateful. Thank you so much for your compassion. So I just want to say that to anybody on here that that may be considering using her service. I just want to give 2 thumbs up and say, yes, she is the person that you want to talk to.
And I want to compliment you as well, Cherise, because I work with a lot of people. And what I really liked about working with you is that you were teachable. I had to have hard conversations with you and tell you the truth about things, and it wasn't pretty sometimes, but that's the way I operate. Like you said, I'm very direct. I don't play around. I say what I mean, and I mean what I say. And you took those conversations very well, even though it wasn't really what you wanted to hear in that moment about whatever it was. but I really respect the fact that you listened, you took the guidance that I gave you, and you kept it moving. I mean, if you want to know how to walk through divorce with dignity and grace, just that's how you walk through it. Literally, like you praised your way through it.
Thank you. Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
I needed every prayer through that,
Yes.
that situation. And even I also want to say this for those of you that may be on or that are watching the replay, and maybe you say, you know what, no, this is not for me, you know, at this present time, but maybe you know of a friend, a family member that may be going through this. I want you all to, like I said again, strongly consider Jaron as well as referring her. Jaron, can you just let everybody know? I'm going to put some stuff up when I edit this video as well.
Sure.
Contact information. If somebody can, Shaughnessy, if you can put it in the chat. But just how can people get in touch with you?
Yes. So I am on Instagram as jarondawn, JaronDawn. That is my same name on Facebook. So you can definitely send me a request there. I have a business page as well, which is Find Your Voice Divorce Coaching Ltd. So I have a Facebook page for that, and I have an Insta for that. Also, you can contact my cell phone, text, telephone. I answer, long as it's not, 2 a.m. And even then I might, depending on if you're locked in my phone. It's 312-805-7906. And then my email is jarondawn, again, JaronDawn @gmail.com. So you can text, call, email, messenger, any of those ways you can find me, and I'd be happy to see. It's not everyone that I'm able to work with, but we can see if it's something I can possibly help you with.
And I have one more question in closing.
Sure.
And I'm going to put all that contact information up again in the video, so it would be easy for people to access. It just made me think. I'm so glad you mentioned your name of your business. Can you just let us know in closing why Find Your Voice?
I am a voice for the voiceless. So in these high conflict situations, sometimes I can speak from experience. I didn't feel like I had a voice or that anyone was listening to me or advocating for me. And even my logo is a bird cage with the bird being freed. The bird has found its voice. And so that's where that name came from, is that I help others to find their voice too.
Wow, that is beautiful. That is beautiful. I'm so glad you mentioned that, your business name, because I wanted to know. I had an idea, the reason, but I just wanted you to share that with everyone else.
Thank you.
Karen,
Thank you.
I can't say thank you enough, and thank you to everyone.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
I don't know. I'm in New York City, you guys. It's a rainy Thursday night, and my daughter and my daughter, they're waiting to go out to dinner. We're gonna celebrate my baby girl. But I just wanted to, I thought this was an important topic. I thought it was an important discussion, and I think the information was extremely valuable. So is there any other questions? Anybody else have any other questions or comments before we close out the night? Again, there'll be a replay. I'm going to edit this, and the information will be on if you want to watch it again. Anybody else?
I don't see anything in the chat, so unless if anyone else has anything.
Well, again, thank you.
I have a question, Cherise. I have a question.
Okay.
What is the difference between annulment and divorce?
The difference between annulment and divorce. Okay. So divorce means that the marriage is legitimate and you are ending the marriage. With an annulment, there's certain specific reasons. I wouldn't know because I don't know where you're calling from or the laws in the state where you are. But an annulment, there's reasons why you can get an annulment. One of them is fraud. There are other ones, but again, I would highly recommend getting with legal counsel on that. But there is a difference. An annulment is as if the marriage never happened. And a divorce is where it is a legitimate marriage and you are dissolving that marriage.
Wow. So let me ask you this, when it is annulled, is it still in the books, in the records? Is the divorce itself, the marriage itself, or does it literally?
The marriage still there.
Is it erased?
Um, so it's in public records, but for all sakes and purposes such as immigration, like it's common to try to get an annulment if there was fraud for immigration purposes. For all intents and purposes, legally it didn't exist, but record keeping wise, you would be able to see that that person was married.
Okay. Nestlin, did you have any other questions on that?
Is because I am from Philippines, we don't have a divorce. We just have annulment. But as you said, Mom John, they will asking for a lot of reason why you're gonna file an annulment, which is my ex-husband is already in the jail, and why they keep on asking me for what reason you will file an annulment.
So I would look up in the Philippines the grounds or the reasons that are acceptable for an annulment. That's the first thing that I would do. I don't know if you have legal aid there, but I know here in the States, you can go to your local courthouse and request help in filing paperwork if you don't have money for an attorney. I don't know if that's an option where you are, but if it is, I would highly recommend getting some counsel.
Wow.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Mom.
Okay.
Thank you, Ma'am
You're
Jaron.
welcome.
It really
You're very
helps.
welcome.
Yes.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you. Thank you, Nestle. Thank you for for joining us tonight, and just hope that you'll be able to get the information that you need.
Yeah.
Definitely. I know that can be challenging. We do have people that join us online from other countries and other states. So, okay. Anybody
The
else?
countries I would know about, that one I don't particularly know anything about the Philippines. If
Okay.
you ask me about Nigeria, I can help you. But if you ask me about Philippines, I don't know.
Understood. Well, again, unless anyone else has any other questions. Okay. Well, all right. Well,
Well, thank you.
thank you, Jaron. We appreciate you joining us tonight. And I'm sending love all the way out there to Georgia, to you out there in Georgia. Man, I can't wait to see you again sometime soon. You know what I mean? I know our paths are going to cross, but in the meantime, thank you and many blessings to your new business. Just
Thank you.
blessings upon blessings for what you do to help people. So thank you again for joining us tonight. Thank
You're
you for everybody
welcome.
else. Thank you for those of you that took your time out tonight. And again, we'll be back next month with another topic. And Jaron, we would love to have you back again if you
Absolutely, we can coordinate. Yes.
Awesome. All right, send
Okay.
kisses to everybody. Good night. Thank you all.
Bye.